There will always be a place for you at my table. Return to me.
Hey, so we're back. Thanks for tuning in to part two of Conversations at the Table with Alicia. So I want to jump straight into it because I know I have a lot to ask and we don't have much time. So is is signs of an emotional or spiritual separation that had happened before. Um, do you agree with that? And if yes, and if you're comfortable with sharing, what was that? Or was there spiritual, emotional, and mental separation before there was a physical separation?
So you're talking in terms of my marriage.
Yes, in
That
terms of marriage.
all right. Yeah. I guess the easiest way to say it, and I think this is what I explained to you when I was telling my children what had happened, is that the journey no longer was both of us going down this big road together.
Right.
It kind of veered off where one of us started probably going in a track, so we no longer going down this road together, going off. And so one eye trying to focus on God and another eye being derailed,
Right.
it's not something that I ever envisioned in life, to go from three to one to two.
Right.
I always believe marriage is something that is a constant, that you're supposed to be there going through it, the thick and thin, because we know the devil would come with his issues and his stuff, some that are our own as well. Um, but the whole marriage, yes, it was an emotional separation at first because you felt this is not what it's supposed to be anymore.
Right.
And it was hurt. It was
Sometimes you don't see that it will lead to physical separation because in your mind you're thinking, you know what, I'll pick up this another day. I have so much I'm
going
doing.
on.
There's work. We have a child. There's so much. Um, would you have done things different? And if yes, what would you have done things different for those that are listening?
Yes, for sure. I can own up and say there were things that you, as true experience, you learn to do better. One of them was sometimes because I didn't have that experience of coming to Jesus, later on in life, I wasn't probably the best support
Right.
of someone who had a fire for God. That was something that totally I totally take issue for, and on my part I probably dimmed his light a little bit in terms of when it came to Jesus and the fire that he had. I couldn't understand, like, why you get on, so I mean, yeah, God good, yeah.
Right.
So that was one. And then also, because said before, because I was a very independent person, it was hard to let go. I'm the one that always makes the decisions. I paid all the bills, so it was hard to sometimes let the man lead.
Right.
I didn't know how it was hard,
Now with submission, how does it
Yeah,
play in your
no,
mind? Okay.
you know submission
Right.
is what you're supposed to do, but actually doing it and what it means to let go, it was hard because, look, I know how to pay the bills already. I know how to, buy the grocery. I know how to organize our little outings. Let me do that because that's what I'm good at, that kind of thing. But after a time, I guess it gets to diminish the person as well because they feeling less than.
Right.
Why, she want to take over, she doing everything, well, let her go and do everything. Another one that is major as well, that I only learned later on,
Right.
was that to let the man is supposed to, you are supposed to treat the man as he's a man,
Right.
simply meaning that even though you have a child, he is still supposed to be the one that you're supposed to be giving your love and attention to, not neglecting your child.
Right.
But what happens a lot when you have a child is that because this child needs you, depends on you for everything, just for their existence, to eat, breathe, clothe, bathe, you tend to now give all your love and attention to the child, and
Right.
the man is neglected. And I guess a lot of females, we do that. And let's be honest, we do it. But we have to remember that no matter what, in the forefront, that the husband is still the person that is supposed to be loved and you give your attention to as well. So sometimes finding that balance. And then you have to be mindful that the child is not a child not going to hurt you with his words, with his actions. This is a child that when you see and you're happy and bouncing, this child is going to give you love and make you feel special as a mother. And sometimes if the husband is not doing that, we tend to neglect him, but in truth
Right.
and in fact, we are still supposed to give, your husband a lot of attention and love that's required to keep the marriage together.
Right.
Answer the question?
You did. I got a little emotional just thinking about all of that. But that is, I find that that is particularly important. As men, and I can speak for myself, sometimes we don't ever say it. We don't ever
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I want a hug," or "I want you just to listen."
I
or
had
I,
a bad day. Give me
Good.
some love now.
Good. And we expect, even though we're not saying it, we expect the woman to understand. And if she is so otherwise occupied with everything else that she's doing, we feel a particular way for it. So to hear you say it and to hear you share it, it just kind of resonates. Hey, it is important. And
So communication
yes,
as well.
communication is a
Talk
big
your
deal.
feelings out. Yeah, that was something that had degraded as well. We stopped talking to each other. We got in our own little worlds and did our own little thing. And every now and then we'll come together. We'll come to church, kind of thing, and then we go home. We go back to our own little worlds, and it shouldn't be like that.
Would you say that there was a bit of pride to sometimes let go,
Of course.
or to say, you know what, put it aside.
Of course.
I'm coming to you. Let's fix it. Let's say what you want. Like
Yeah.
how could I? Do you think there was a little
Yeah,
of that
on
in
both
it?
sides, of course,
Right.
because at times you think you are giving 80%. In your mind, you're justifying your behavior because I given all this. Just come and meet me, now, man. So the pride of feeling that you are giving all this and I'm not moving no more. It's your turn now to come on my side as well. And no, sometimes it's just a matter of talking and explaining. This is what's happening. This is what I need from you. This
Right.
is what I require from you. And sometimes they totally didn't even realize that is something that you needed or required.
Right.
So a lot of communication at all times. Good, effective communication and listening as well. Because it's
Okay.
not just
So
communication.
you heard it here first. Good, effective communication. So I think a lot of people don't really think about this part, but the decision to get divorced. So physically that is one thing, but deciding you are a mother, so there's a child in play. You are a church leader. You are an example because persons look up to you, and your husband then, because of what y'all represented. That decision, it impacted not just you, but it impacted. There's a
Yes.
ripple effect.
Yes.
How was that? And I would start with the priority. How was that in terms of explaining that to your son? In terms of that transition, just a little bit. How was that with your children in church, as a leader in church, and then with your friends and families that you all were this example to?
First, because of relationship, my ace and I
Right.
still have it. And then I always look at the good of things that he was old enough where I could have sat. In fact, we didn't sit down. We lied on the bed, and we had a conversation, And he was like, "Mommy, you real strong boy," and like, we will do this, and I was like, "You come from me, so you strong too. We will get through this," And we went on sleep. Yeah. We had a good night's sleep. The transition was hard in terms of that we had to do things we never had to do around the house.
Right.
A perfect example was changing some bulbs in the lights outside.
Right.
We never did it. So after this whole transition, we had two of us on a ladder trying to change our two bulbs on the lights outside. We didn't know how to do it, and we laughing because there were things that we just never had to do in the house.
Right.
So that in itself was a journey to, okay, you don't have to do these things, the plumbing, make sure the roof, those things that we never had to do. So that was a transition.
What about safety and security?
That true, because at first it's like you're full of anger now. You leave me here and I now have to live with this child. It's two of us alone, and you're afraid people going to know it's just the two of us and look to break in the house. You had that fear, and then I just say, listen, I can't live like this.
Right.
And I at time had stopped talking to God, reality, because it's God's fault. It's why
Right.
this happening. You're looking to blame. And then after I prayed and talked to God, I said, I can't live in this fear. I have to sleep. I can't be hearing all these noises and thinking something. And literally, without fail, that night was a calm night from then till now. I didn't have the fear anymore. And we slept well.
Right.
So, trusting in God, that was one. The talking, the biggest thing for me wasn't that he left. It was the feeling of I failed.
Right.
I failed at something.
Right.
I don't fail at anything.
I do not fail.
Yes.
Right.
So that was the biggest thing, that you felt defeated, you felt unfulfilled, you felt that, wow, a big failure, but actually, I didn't tell much people. You felt the embarrassment was minor because I was still around. I still came to church. I never missed. Most people didn't even know what was happening at that point in time. One of the biggest things was telling my children at church. We all were older by then.
Right.
And I remember a group of us was there, and I simply told you, I said, you realize, Huzzy no longer there. And I had a conversation with you all, and what was sad was that even though a lot of you all also came from single parent homes as
Right.
well, that I now was trying to not give you that example. I too now became a single parent,
Right.
in a household. But the support that I got from you all was magnificent.
The best.
But another big thing I must note is that I never told you all, don't tell anybody.
Right.
Nobody ever came back to me with a story, so I hear whatever. Strange that your children, you could trust them sometimes more than adults.
Right.
But I've always say that you all were one of the best, you all are the bestest children that I could have. I really appreciate that. So this is me thanking you all as
Right.
well for calling down the fort for me sometimes when I was weak. It was a really, really good support. In work,
Right.
work was something, because even though yes, we used to mentor youths at work, at home, at church, we also used to mentor people at work, at my work. So we would line together as a couple, and people would always comment about how good we are together, we supportive, and we have raised a wonderful child. And now it's just me now. And I remember having to go in the bathroom I called her and I went to the bathroom and I told her, now this is my story, right? This is my hurt. This is my journey. And I had to comfort her. Yeah.
Right.
She started to cry.
Shambles.
And I was like, but I am the one that should be crying. But that was hard too. It not being that so-called mentor to people anymore as a couple.
Right.
Because you always want to be an example, because I didn't have much examples as well.
Right.
I didn't really have someone that I could have gone to talk anything freely. So I always purpose in my head that whatever journey I'm on, church, home, work, that I would always try to be example. Not being a perfect example, but being a living example, that even through the mistakes I make, I'm able to inspire somebody to do better, to want to do better. So that was hard to admit that to people at work. But another plug again is that always have your 4 friends.
Right. Just for
Well, I mean, yeah.
a small circle.
A small circle
Right.
of people that would keep your story to themselves. A quick example was that I told 2 of them at work, and somebody in the middle came and was talking about me. So I hear Alicia get divorced. And they just stayed quiet and said nothing. And they came at different times to tell me, this person thinking that you get divorced and this, but they never spoke to each other to let anybody know that they knew my story. They basically kept it to themselves. And I always admired that and I appreciated that. And sometimes even if I might fault as being a friend, I always remember those people that were there for me, and I try to be a better friend as well, because it was a really enlightening moment to know these are people I could stick around and talk to through this trying, hard, difficult time. It was really inspiring to know who your true friends are.
Okay. No, I'm just going, as you're saying this story, I'm saying that must have been a lot.
Yes.
It must have been
Yes.
challenging. But you seem to always have it together. I want to ask, for strong women or for strong people, they always seem to have it together. When you see them, they're always smiling, they're always well put together, they dress nice, and you almost never know that they're going through struggle. How was that for you in terms of maintaining that smile, maintaining that brave face, even though basically your world in some instance was kind of shaken,
Yeah.
And how was your relationship with God at that point? Honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I had blamed him. Like, why are you doing this? I'm trying to do the right thing, God. Um, so I had a time that I had stopped praying, stopped worshiping, because like I'm doing all this, and why did this still happen to me? It didn't last too long. You get yourself, you pull back. Um, but right now, my journey spiritually is better.
Right.
God has real patience with me, and He's there, and you're always seeing Him working through the things that He does. My son is wonderful. I don't know, people always talk about they have the best son. I have the bestest son ever.
Ever.
you know, um, so yes, the transition was hard. Yes, you felt a little embarrassed of what took place, kind of thing, because it just wasn't the plan that you had for your journey, your spiritual journey as well. But I always say God always takes bad situations and makes it for good. And it became a life story that I can actually tell persons
Yeah,
now. I'm not ashamed of my journey. It is my story, my journey, my life. And if it could be an example through the good and the bad to make you make better decisions, I'm all for that. I guess that's why we're here now.
Good. So we touched on your son.
Yeah.
He is growing up to not just be, he's no longer, how old is he?
Almost 18.
Okay, so he's a young man.
Yeah.
And he's going to very soon contribute in a significant way, even if he has already, but in a more meaningful way to society, in terms of relationships, in terms of occupation, that kind of stuff. How has that transition been, and how are things with you all, being now the mom, the provider,
Yeah.
as well as the support, say coming home and supporting, and then you have to be the one, both of you all have to be the one doing everything. How has the relationship been, and how is he with the whole transition and everything?
Because we have a really, really good relationship. I don't believe in we friends. I am still your mother, you still my son, but we have a really, really good relationship in that we talk a lot.
Right.
I have grown my son where I believe that he's not ready for society. He could able to handle a job, he's able to handle people, he's able to handle his emotions. Because as a parent, we are supposed to prepare our children for the life after. I don't believe in cuddling or enabling. So I have taught him through we have spoken
Right.
numerous conversations that we will always have, we still have. And I always tell him my face. Let me give you an example. And that was something that I had to learn as well. So through this whole transition, say, okay, I'm going for counseling. Going for the counseling, and I'm like sitting down on the chair listening to her, and I'm like, I know all this already. I'm already doing it. Why am I here? Why is she talking? She's not saying anything that I don't know. I feel like I'm wasting my time when I could be somewhere else. And she made a statement at the last 15 minutes of our last session. And she said, don't be afraid to show your son that you are going through a process. Don't be afraid to show him that you have emotions in terms of I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry. And that was something that I was not giving to him. I always had I don't want to say up front, but I always play the part of I'm good, I'm in control, and that advice carried me and made it better, because then he was, okay, mommy not feeling too good today. Yeah.
Right.
I need a little space, that kind of thing. And he was now be able to react because he was, I guess, was going through those emotions.
Correct.
So we both going through it, and we could see it, and we supported each other. So
Right.
that was wonderful advice. After 4 sessions, 15 minutes down to the end, the big moment, be always vulnerable to show your child that you have feelings as well, not just being happy. So that was something that I learned. So he himself can now deal with his emotions as well, because we have a lot of children, young people out here that don't know how to handle their emotions. Somebody say something bad about them, and they can't handle it, can't deal, they can't function, they're all up in sorts, they're crying, and like, we have to learn how to handle our emotions and how to be better persons as well, because you're going out in society.
Right. But I think something you said has a lot of merit. sometimes we see these parents, or we see our parents very, like, almost like walls, like good, bad, and different. We see the good, we see the happy, but when bad or like difficult times happen, we still see a very straight demeanor.
You all
Like,
don't know.
correct. But then if we don't know about this is what we see, we almost believe that that is how things should be done. I would
Yeah.
even say for my mom,
Mm-hmm.
through different transitions, I probably never saw her cry. Like, to me, that was very foreign. Like, that was never.
I agree too. I agree. No, no.
Right. But what it does, it actually shows, okay, cool. This is how you treat with things. Don't show too much emotion. Like,
Yeah.
always stay in focus. Like, never. But now you're saying that she would have said, the therapist, share your emotions so that he could actually learn how to actually be emotional when times. But actually, when he's in a relationship, treat with someone who is emotional as well. Because imagine him being in a relationship with someone and she gets emotional and he's like,
I don't know
what
to
is
do.
this? Like, why are
How
you
do I
behaving
handle
like this? So that is important.
Yeah.
What bit of advice you'd give to those listening? Divorce is something that is a tragic thing. I would say so.
Yeah.
That is not God's ideal. I don't think any of us get married with the hopes of getting divorced.
True.
What would you say to someone who has gotten divorced but they have the children and they're wondering, God, financially I have to take care of them, emotionally I have to take care of them, spiritually I have to take care of them, and it is a bit challenging because there was two, and maybe both of us could have done it because where he lacked, I would pick
Yeah.
up the slack and vice versa. But what would you say to those that not just one but two or three children by themselves, and they now have to manage all of those things: spiritual, emotional, physical, mental, all of those things?
Having that support system.
Right.
You see the 4 friends?
Right.
Have your 4 friends that you can call at any time who will support you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because at times you feel you have none.
Right.
So have those 4 friends. And it may seem cliched, but hold on to God. Not just in the sense of read your Bible kind of thing, literally form a relationship with him, because you literally feel the strength from him as well.
Right.
You really do. You will have times, yes, I'll feel, nah, not today, no God. You is your fault kind of thing, but endure to the end. He is there and he will be there, and it's not going to last forever. I think that the next big thing for me was, this is just a part of, it's not going to be here forever. We will get over this mountain, and
Right.
always be hopeful that things will get better. Always be hopeful of that.
What is a practical application step? So you're having a rough day, everything, or you were having a rough day sometime in the past, everything is kind of coming down on you, the walls are closing in. What would you say is a practical step in a daily scenario that you could find strength, or that you could do to just get by today so that tomorrow could be better?
Yeah. Do something you love.
Right.
Say come home, you're stressed, you ain't too sure where the food coming from, where you know the pay coming next 2 weeks, but you only have 1 week money kind of thing. Find something that you love and do it with all. So for me, it was singing home.
Jesus.
So I
Right.
would put up the music
Right.
and I would sing, dance, blast it. The neighbors didn't even, I don't know what they taught of me, but it helped me, it buoyed me. And also having conversations with my son.
Right.
He didn't realize how much he was a blessing to me in terms of this whole journey as well. He was a great support. I don't think I ever told him that.
See, he listening now.
Yeah, he was a great support because he himself, in a sense, was a good friend because we spoke. So find something you like that makes you happy and do it, even if it's just 15 minutes, because it will the whole negative will just slide
Consume you.
away.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the negative can consume you, but if you replace it with something that brings you joy, just do it.
Okay. So we're wrapping up very quickly. To those parents who there's no time for them, so, or for those wives or anyone, for women who, I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a church leader, I have all these responsibilities, I am a single mother, we forget every aspect besides you, the woman, you, Alicia Labadie. I would ask you two questions. Do you see that there's room or there's hope for you to find love again? If possibly, would you? I asked it. Today's the day. Do you see yourself finding love again? And for those that are totally consumed in everything that is going on and there's no room for them, what would you say?
Don't ever be consumed. Don't ever
But how?
put yourself where it is you're now, because you're no longer married, all your attention go to your child now, or your children. No, you'll be consumed, because when they leave now, what you're going to do? Because they grow up and they do leave. So you have to find something that you, as you say, I am Alicia, find something that Alicia likes, whether it's sociable, whether it's reading, whether it's missionary work, helping others. Just to take your mind away from sometimes yourself and your situation, but don't ever be fully and wholly consumed by your children, where all is just your children. So you have to find time for just being Alicia. I found that time. In terms of, I'm not jaded by the whole marriage thing. I still find it's a lovely institution in terms of two people coming together and making this work, and you're having fun while you're doing it, because I just love to laugh. And if you could find a person that makes you laugh, yes. I have friends.
So you have friends now. We're going back to the I have friends.
I have a lot of friends, but we'll see. I'm not against it, not wanting to jump into it too quickly either. But yeah, I'm open. But I have a question for you before we finish. Quickly. You as a child of a single parent,
right.
How was that journey for you? And did you see it? How are you now?
Whoa. So, okay, what happened? So what I found is that while growing up, I have to credit my mom for being an excellent mom, but also trying her utmost best to facilitate the roles of my dad, in terms of that person you could talk to about dating and women and who will support you at your football games and your sporting events and those things. So I had that, but I would always say God instituted marriage, or God instituted the family for a particular reason. A mom or a mother cannot be a mother and a father.
Definitely.
As much as she tries.
Say it again.
I think a mother cannot be a mother, and she will try, she will adapt. Yeah. Women have this incredible ability. But God knew what he was doing. And in my situation, as much as she did her utmost best, there were certain things that I just needed to see a man do.
Yes.
However, what I would say, and this is where I realized that God loved me infinitely more than anyone does. As I was growing up, I started to realize there were patterns or traits or things that I was doing. I didn't understand why. So these may have been traits from my dad. These may have been traits that I just picked up. And what I found is that God placed men or persons in my life, male figures in my life, from church, from interactions. And those exact things that I was struggling with, they actually were strong at. So for example, one of the things was I wasn't one to be very committing to things. And I don't know where I get that from, but what I saw in the last 6 to 10 years, people just believe it's work, but God actually placed a male figure in my life who I saw was very, very, very committing. Like, if he said he would do something, he will do it. And by looking at that example, by seeing that, I said to myself, hey, I'm seeing the positive results from this. I'm seeing the negative results from what I'm doing. And this is definitely something I want to pattern after. Even though I didn't have that direct interaction with my father in that way. So I would say for those of you who have or who grew up with a single parent, God knows exactly, even though it's not ideal, God knows exactly what you need to be who he wants you to be.
To be better.
And he will equip you with everything you need to do so.
True.
So that is how I dealt with the whole single parent thing.
Nice.
But yes, Alicia, let me just say I admire who you were in terms of before we having this conversation. I admire who you are, but I look forward to who you're becoming. I don't think your story
And
I don't think it's finished yet, and I think that you have so much more to give in regards to love, in regards to yourself, in regards to everything. So I want to thank you so
Most
much
welcome.
for being very open, being very honest, and sharing with us at the table. And I look forward to our personal relationship growing from strength to
true.
strength.
Yeah. It
So,
was nice. It was nice sharing.
How you felt about it?
Quickly, I usually speak with people one-on-one. And I was wondering, God, how can I be more effective in terms of getting more people to know my story, to learn what you should and shouldn't do? And here you call a week after, Auntie Alicia, I want you to share your story. And this is what I'm talking about, God, but God. And I just shake my head, really, God? Really? This is what you're doing? I just pass it by. I just mention, how I could share my story, and week after, this is what you do. So that's why I accept it.
Right.
Because I believe everybody's experience should be shared to make others be better.
Right.
And that's just all I'm here for. I want my journey, the good and the bad, to be able to inspire and help persons to be better.
Okay. So I think that's a good way to end it. So, to the thousands of you listening or tuning in, I want to thank you sincerely. Not just me, but the entire cast at the table. We want to thank you for tuning in with us. And we look forward to rejoining or joining with you at the next time. Take care. Happy Sabbath.
I went the way of wayward wings in a world of trouble and sin. Walked along a crooked mile behind a million rank and file. Forgot where I came from, somewhere back when I was young. I was a good man's child. I lost some nameless things, my innocence flew away from me. She had to hide her face from my desire to embrace forbidden fire. But at night I dream she's still singing over me. Oh, my child, come on home. Home to me, and I will hold you in my arms, and joyful be. There will always be a place for you at my table. Return to me. Wondering where I might begin. Hear a voice upon the wind, singing faint but singing true. Son, there ain't nothing you can do. Listen close and follow me. I'll take you where you're meant to be. Just don't lose faith. So I put my hand upon the plow, I wipe the sweat up from my brow, plant the good seed along the way as I look forward to the day when at last I see my Father unto me. Oh, my child, come on home. Home to me, and I will hold you in my arms, and joyful be. There will always be a place for you at my table. Return to me. Come on home. Home to me, and I will hold you in my arms, and always be. There will place for you at my table. Return to me.